And Bitcoin, on the other hand, Bitcoin's backed by nearly 300 exahash of hash power, and it's backed by 10.6 gigawatts of energy. Now, I say those words, but people don't even, it doesn't register with them what those words mean. So let me say it a different way. The United States Navy has 53 Virginia class attack submarines that have 30 megawatts each. It has 14 Ohio class ballistic missile submarines that have about 45 megawatts of power each. It has 11 nuclear powered aircraft carriers with about 195 megawatts of power each from their nuclear reactors. It's got 17 cruisers that run about 60 megawatts each and 62 destroyers that have something like 30 megawatts each. When you add it all up, right, the entire Navy, the nuclear Navy, it's running like 4.5 gigawatts. 4.3 gigawatts of power. Okay. So the Bitcoin network, we used to say that the US dollar is backed by the strength of the US Navy, by the power of the Navy. Well, it is. And now you know what the Navy is. The Navy isn't 10 gigawatts. Bitcoin is 10.6 gigawatts. It's like double the energy that powers the entire US Navy. Another way to think of it is as a full-on nuclear power plant might generate a gigawatt, a massive one. It's like 10 and a half full-on nuclear power plants running all out, but it's better because it's distributed everywhere in the grid and you can't identify where that energy. It's more distributed than the Navy. It's more distributed than the nuclear power plants. You can't stop it. And when you combine that, which is a wall of energy, with another idea, which is 300 exahash, and that's computing power. That exahash is driven by silicon ASICs that have, when we last checked it, it's 2,200 times the computational advantage of general purpose computers. So it's a 2,202x machine or silicon ratchet that's running. And what does that mean? Well, that means that how much computing power do I need to catch up with the Bitcoin network? And the answer is all of it. Like how much computer power? All of it, right? If you took all of the computing power of Microsoft and Azure and AWS and Google and Facebook and everything, all of it, you're still not catching up, right? So what we've established is, by the way, how much Navy do you need to catch up with Bitcoin? All of it. All the navies in the world maybe are starting to approach the power of Bitcoin. And then all of the computing power of the world isn't 10% of the power of Bitcoin, wouldn't dent it. And then when you look at the cryptos, that attempt to compete, you've got a handful of proof of stake networks. And the last time we calculated, said, well, if Bitcoin is Mount Fuji, this next one is like a grain of rice. And the other one is like a housefly. Like you might, the biggest proof of work network other than Bitcoin, and it might be a toaster compared to Mount Fuji. And that's the good ones, right? That's the few dozen that the dozen that might actually have something backing them. And then when you go to the air tokens, the proof of stake tokens, what are they backed by? They're backed by 3 people, if you're lucky, 8 people, right? 2 people. FTX was, and Serum and SRM and FTT was backed by one person's whim. And so this is going to be such a teachable moment, right? So vivid when people say, what is responsible? Well, I want all the computer power in the world and all of the energy that the US Navy could muster, and I want it to be distributed across millions of nodes to defend my money. That's what Bitcoin is. And what is the rest of crypto? The rest of crypto is what Sam Bankman Fried was and